I love how long that sound lasts, honestly. I love that bowl, and it's been a minute since I've used that to open these, so I thought it would be a fun little reminder just how good traditional sound bowls from Nepal sound. But it also is engraved with these beautiful transmutational energies. Um, and so I use it to transmute often. Um, and find that that resonance sits very good and is very clearing. And it's a cool tritone thing. So let me not ramble about it. I hope you enjoyed feeling it as much as I do. And I hope you enjoy a little sound to cleanse the space, open the circle, make some room. It is a new moon in Gemini at that. Which will be very interesting for the US, I think. New moon in Gemini with, we're going to move this so that I can actually see my notes because we're on a different device. That won't do it. That won't do it. What did I have over here? There we go. Bam. We're in my little art studio, so things are funny. And full of nonsense. But Moon in Gemini. With Mercury, with Uranus, and Jupiter close by. This is fourth house as far as the US goes. I imagine that changes the places. I guess I don't really know. But so for me, that speaks, oh gosh, different deck. That speaks locality and non-local. So very much immediate surroundings and very much expansive capacity of surroundings. And that can be, I mean, it's micro to macro that can come in many forms, that can exist just internally as well as exist in the things that you see around you. It also makes me think of like particle non-locality and the ways in which we separate ourselves from it, the ways in which our molecules are not attached to it, the ways in which reality is non-local. That also has to do with community and lineage. So again, immediate surrounding and something maybe much more deeper and much more. And that also has to do with identity and memory. The ways in which we think about ourselves because of past experience, the ways in which we continue to step forward on sore heels from past bitterness. The way that fuels our relationships and every step forward, and not just our relationship to others, but our relationship to the future and what we really believe is within our grasp or on our path. I think too often the things that we sort of like, no, that's not for me, often really comes from a place of like shame or fear in trying, and maybe even envy or say that person, that thing. I think astrology in the like early days of it, and like old like 1920s, 1960s books, there was very much this like clear bias against artistry, um, dressed in language of romanticism while also projecting this, the idea of starving artist, the idea not a job that you want, this is still, dressed in this undesirable sort of quality. And that I think is because it was a very logical society that saw those things and saw beauty in them, is in awe and also repulsed by it. I think that can actually be probably very relevant or relatable for a lot of people, for the underdog, for the outcast, for a lot of our queer uh, family and relatives in this moment who understands what it means to be looked at and see the look in eyes when they love you and hate you, when they want to fight you and want to fuck you all the same, um, and don't understand why. And so they act out, because of repression, because of repression of memories, because of repression of even just, maybe not even like I'm jealous because I want to be you, but to see freedom when you don't think that it is possible or that it is within your grasp is infuriating. To see identity when yours has been painted for you, and taken from you in that, is infuriating and needs to be dealt with instead, internally rather than externally. Um, that was a little bit of a digress from my weird little bullet notes. Da, 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 da. The resistance in this that I was talking about, comes from routines, that cannot come with us. It comes from patterns that cannot come with us. It comes from things persisted before that cannot come with us. Um, that is, the etymology of a law, really, which is interesting because so many have been passed recently. I actually have some theories about that, but we'll set for another deal. Um, it's giving all or nothing. It's very all or nothing kind of pressure. It's very rock and hard place in that as well. Um, there's a proudness to it and to that resistance. That is also kind of wallowing in misery. Um, and that may not be you, but it's very much like the zeitgeist character of the times. Hopefully you're feeling proud, and hopefully you're not feeling, proud of who you are, not like weird pride. Um, and hopefully you're not feeling trapped in misery, or trapped in cycles without a semblance of light, at the end of the tunnel or a way out. Because I think that's where we start to fall into the idea of misery, where we lose, creative insight about, ways of liberating ourselves from those cycles, where we stop looking for a way. I don't want to say, oh, I'm thinking escape room, but through, um, which would prevail, which would, connotate prevailing. Um, da, 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 da. Maybe that'll look new theory in practice. Maybe that'll look like trying something that you've never done before. Again, those possibilities, rather than that be like, oh, I could never try it out. See, you never know. Maybe you've got a natural knack for it. Um, and who knows? Maybe it'll ignite something in you. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. And I also heard something. That theory doesn't necessarily precede practice. Sometimes it is just throwing yourself into something. The theory is about the practice. So is it really something that precedes, or is it something that can only exist because it's observed? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like the theory has to observe the practice in order to theorize. So perhaps the practice is the trial and error and just has to happen. It's very, is it the chicken or the egg situation, and it is always the egg. I think we can conceive of an idea before we act it out, but we don't necessarily theorize, uh, or are able to fully grasp the theory of it without having observed. This is also, I think, a big part of physics experiments is observable, um, and how that influences theory. Dun, 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 dun. I wrote down in parentheses, that it can be, like I said, like being thrown into the water. It can also be like waking up in new timelines, like waking up in these sudden feelings, or it just there's this understanding, I suppose, um, which has been something I very much, understood very personally lately. And dreams do follow us. I've had conversations with some friends lately about them being so real that it can be very exhausting. And those moods can follow us because their dreams do follow us. I have many theories about this, but um, dreams are as real as this world, and that those lives that we are dreaming of are as real. But I also have some qualifying theories to that, because it is not always our real. Sometimes I think there is an injection of thought that is occurring, especially as science about dreamscapes grows. Um, Saturn Uranus Pisces relationship. I think, especially within those waters, being thrown into those waters, it's the difference of, are you going to dive or are you going to be thrown in? Are you going to lead or are you going to be led? How willing or resistant are you going to be to this process? Um, because it's happening whether you like it or not. Life is happening, life is moving, life is lifing. Shit is changing. Um, Big things, little things, and our adaptability and our fluidity is going to be very important. This is something that the U.S. does not have in its advantage, but it does have some vulnerabilities at the moment that I think are particularly important, and also probably particularly sensitive in us, for us emotionally as a collective. Um, which we'll get into because I literally have that next, with memory or conscious dreaming. Again, memory or conscious dreaming. What do you remember about these things? What are the memories serving in your dreams or creating, conjuring in your dreams? I think the American dream tends to ignore its past regressions, transgressions, past lives. Um, Past transgressions, and that's also what disunites them. We have, not necessarily ignoring our ills or our failures or our faults or our transgressions, but in not necessarily knowing who uh who we've been, not knowing who we are, but not knowing who we've been either, not believing in past lives, not believing in karma. For a nation that prides itself on the nonsense that it prides itself on family dynamics. I think of its greatest transgressions or sins, um, which I only say sins because of, like, in quotes, because religious context, it is a terrible thing. But beyond land from indigenous people and genocide, and beyond slavery, children and children in the way they're not protected in the U.S. I think is also something that, micro to macro, is the way we deny ourselves of our creativity, and the way we deny ourselves of our sensitivity, and the way we are so, like, trajectory forward that we lose sight of childhood. It's very much like losing sight of the journey, losing sight um, of the things that matter. God, I know I wrote something about that, but I don't know where it is. Da, 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 da. We'll see. It'll come. It'll come. We'll just keep going. Opposition to this moon is Black Moon in the ninth, 10th house, which is Sagittarius, which is theory and also death. Which again, which is why I keep talking about these past lives or regressions or transgression memories. Even, it's just so much of the past. It's so much of the past and so much of the future that it is not present. It also, think of like those old like execution styles where they tie horse on either and limb and run. That sensation, which is not a fun one. It's bypassing to me, not that sensation particularly, but this nice ideal. Because Gemini will never quite conjunct with Jupiter, but it does advance. Does advance very quickly. Um, Sort of like despite to spite, which is ignoring the lesson for the reward. It's ignoring the journey for the destination. It's ignoring the means purely because of the end. It's running away from social justice and accountability. Um, and that is that's the American dream. Um, and that is not where we need to be if we want to be able to move forward with a solid step, um, with a full body, without leaving parts of ourselves behind and feeling disembodied. Um, which is also something that I think the spiritual community is capitalizing on. And the more that this wellness industry grows and people teach breath work and astral projecting, they're capitalizing on on our ignorance about being embodied and being in our body. They're capitalizing on our inability to use our breath to embody, which I think is fucked up. Which is also why I'm here. um, do we, and this applies to me too, even this is also very personal to me, do we write ourselves off as easily as we write dreams? And I would hope that the answer is no, all around. Um, Lilith is important because even in relation to the United States and its conception chart, which comment, and I will do a whole video reading America for filth. I love that. Um, but Lilith is a powerful destabilizer because it opposes so much of America's own personal identity and health, or the trauma attached to that. So that all also applies to us individually. I do think we found some vulnerabilities in the big bad boss that America is. But I also think that those vulnerabilities in us and utmost time to take care of our health and take care of our mind, um, and be very compassionate towards ourselves. Because stress and shame and guilt are modes of control, and they will also deteriorate your immune system, which will destroy everything else. Um, if you can identify your strengths and vulnerabilities, you can adapt to anything. You can be very fluid. America as an entity doesn't even know who its friends or enemies are, and that is also changing. So, um, for that reason, we can make for a shocking and sudden destabilization. Um, I think the more unified and the more expansive our cones of compassion are, the more expansive our ideologies are, all the better. Especially when America is again in this, positioning with these planetary positions. With that also being said, please keep your fifth house fun and fluid, whatever your fifth house placement is, because that is very much younger you. That is very much how you navigate your mind and emotions around, children, around your curiosity, around your play, around your then even, and very much that is stunted by trauma, um, and especially when it is not dealt with. Stay open-minded. This is something that very much fades as we grow up or as we get older. um, we start to get very pigeonholed into uh, not bound pigeonholed into perceptions and ideas, boundaries on our perception, really. So it's quite confining. It is in fact a box or a coffin, a jail, perhaps. Um, and the more we stay open-minded, the more we can combat darker thoughts, destabilizing thoughts, and understand what is true. Um, I know I say it, but it's not like I'm immune to these things. I'm just very clear about what voice is mine and what voice is not. So when I have these really wild dreams about ways that terrible things happen, and it leaves me waking up holding on to a lot of those feelings, I have to sit there for a moment and understand my breath, and that these are thoughts from a different source. That they're sort of like foreign entities, um, like infiltrating, I suppose, infiltrating the mind. Cognitive warfare. Uh, fuck, I was wondering when that was going to come up. Uh, in which case, don't abandon yourself in those thoughts. It's very easy to. I think giving into them is a form of abandoning what it is that you can hold on to of yourself here. I think our country might abandon itself. But um, This Palestina, Pluto, Aquarius, first house situation, I also think says don't underestimate how much you're progressing or chipping away at something. Slow progress is still progress. And you'd be surprised, again, like getting chucked into the water, or, shocking and sudden surprise. You'd be surprised how much just little bits of practice suddenly add up, and then the next day you're playing a full song on the piano, or finally nail that octave change, or finally whatever it is. Whatever it is, or finally get yourself to go outside and try something new, whatever it is. Get outside of your comfort zone a little bit and have some fun with it. um, Are you willing to hold out for growth? Have in your growth? Don't give up to the true justice seekers. Don't give up. Don't give up, anybody. Don't give up. But don't give up to the true justice seekers, and to the true inquirers, and to the true innovators. Stay curious and creative. Which is a very Gemini characteristic, true Gemini, beyond repression or beyond judgment or beyond coincidences or confusion, um, and with a boldness beyond its indecision. Um, and again, not not confused about that thing, the thing, or what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Um, I feel like it. I feel like we think Gemini can argue for both, and they can. Um, but I think a true goal in Gemini is understanding the synthesis of these things, and understanding the origin of these things, like ultimate investigation, which would be like cells within cells within cells within cells, which would be an egg. Um, but what was the freaking? I don't know. I don't know. We'll think about it later. Whatever it was, it'll come to me. Um, and not torn by two worlds, not torn by past self and future self, and ignorant of present self, not torn by childhood and adulthood, not torn by history or mystery or memory, um, and when memory is a mystery to us, um, not torn by two worlds, not playing two sides of the fence. That's very much like being trapped in purgatory, like spirits that can't cross over. Again, be very aware of, be curious of your past lives and your memory, and be very curious of your dreams. Get conscious with your dreams, quite honestly. The more conscious you are of your dreaming, you'd be surprised how many layers of yourself that can peel back. Um, and I think ultimately, again, peel back layers of information so that we ultimately find uh, a synthesis in truth, which is ultimately, I think, Gemini's goal, but has gotten comfortable in being like cute as the Switzerland, and it's not cute anymore, if that makes sense. um, Anyway, Saturn will move into Aries with Venus, Neptune, and Chiron, and I think that will be a very unstable place for the U.S. because so much of its identity is knotted up in bad karma and fears of loss of control and superficial excess, um, and all of that is not ideal. But if we again stay curious, stay playful, um, get aware of our past life stuff, then we'll be good. But all of that aside, we're gonna pull some cards before my iPad dies, and see what the moon has to say for us that I haven't already poured out in as best words as I could. I know I've shuffled these like a million times already. Do you think that's enough? I think so. All right. Much like we are hanging out and we get to take some deep breaths to tap in. or to find some ease. I tap in. You're just chilling if you want to. We are going to take 3 deep breaths together. Big inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, so as to make space for whatever it is your body is going to communicate. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Take a deep breath in and exhale. Mm. I feel impatient. I feel like communicate. Um, and it's very much like wringing these fingers. I'm kind of burning. Like, oh. Spades, bottom of the deck. Which is very much home turf, home base. It's very much the walls we put up for protection. And that can absolutely protect, and that can also confine and suffocate. Um, Sometimes even maybe that feels like it's closing in. And I know that feeling. I'm very familiar with that feeling. I used to have very vivid experiences with this feeling. Um, there's ways in which we find release valves to relieve these dams of emotions. Um, and sometimes those release valves are not super healthy, and can be really chaotic and very impulsive and very it's how I discovered the difference between mutilation and modification for sure. And it very much has to do with your presence and your mentality in it, and whether or not you're taking away from yourself or adding. I think it's even adding to. I think it's more like unveiling or revealing. Um, Uncovering even. And it's how I think of a lot of creative work in general. It is there. And sculptors, painters, it is there already. And my paintings are in the canvas. It's the paint that almost like pulls it out and lets it breathe. Or sculptors will say, this thing is already in this slab of marble. It's up to me and these tools to communicate with it and try to pull it out. Um, Gosh, that sounds like so many things. And that can be very specific for people. That's suicide, that's depression, that's also for some people feeling possessed or parrots. Um, but this is also home. Is it home or is it haunting? There's also why it's purple. It's all spiritual energy. It's very vibrant, spiritual energy. It's like that Diasin glass, or that Vietnam nightmares. Um, there's certain frequencies of light. Even animals that see these frequencies of light are the animals that cross bridges. They're the animals that can carry messages from life to death and back again. So what messages are we relaying, in the house, in the temple of our body, um, from our lowest level to our highest level? The neighbors of our thoughts. How do we create a sacred space, or are we haunting ourselves? I think this is also very much the haunting of certain locations, or the way people describe some locations as portals. It's entropy and energy, and it can go both ways, equal heights. That is for us, ourselves, for places, for entities. That's also why there's all this talk about the things not being haunted. but it being based off the energy, which is absolutely right. Which is about time somebody figured it out. Um, and very much the ideas of angels and demons, especially no matter what book you read, you'll find that they are queer. Um, they are both genders, or they swap genders, or they shapeshift. So they're gay as fuck, trans as fuck. Um, maybe not gay. They're trans as fuck. Um, in the best way, because demons are not evil. Demons are not, uh, mean, greedy, whatever it is. Um, if you look at it in context of particle physics, um, it's either consolidation or pure combustion. And angels would be pure combustion because they're destroyers. They break, they set fire, they flood, they turn you dust, they or whatever they fucking do. Um, they're very pious. They're very biased. But they're the destroyers. I think society has it entirely wrong. I think demons are lovers and angels are destroyers. Um, I have gotten to interact with both, and I prefer demons. Angels are still cool, but I prefer demons. Um, and demons and addiction and possession and all. It's not so much that it's that they take over. It's like molecules attracting like molecules, so they consolidate. It's very literally the spirits in the world being like, you'll understand me. And once you hear it in that way, it's such a tender thing. And the more we can understand that, the more we can help them cross or move or shift wherever it is that they need to and find solace so that the rest of their energy can find other like molecules and consolidate again, which in like that movie Soul, that Disney Pixar movie, that would be that consolidation in all of our molecules consolidate with spirit, which is also the idea of death and why people hallucinate oneness in trips, because religion and modern commodification of psychedelics is selling the same kind of death. Sorry, I just got kind of on my thing for a minute. Um, is your body a home or is it a haunting? Which I love because it can be both. And you can cleanse and find strength in them, make friends with those spirits so that they can pass and cross, and so that you are not trapping in your energy. For all of the God, there was something else. There was like Mars and Leo or something. And that is, I feel like exactly that, the trapping in the energy, like caught in the hair of something or doing too much. Like, when somebody flips their hair in your face, it's disgusting. Um, it's it's also a lack of kinesthetic sense, which is a lack of spatial awareness, a lack of where you are in space, you are, um, or lack of sense of self. And that's not what we want. What we want is a full sense of self. This 10 of diamonds, as much as that is an earth quality and a tangible quality, this is very much, um, I like to say Gatsby green. Because like in that book, there's this beautiful emerald light off in the distance, and he ponders love and life and extravagance looking at it or whatever. Um, that's why I love greens. But this emerald, it's like a beckoning and an absorbing and like all encompassing. What if we had that kind of wealth and that kind of personality, where it wasn't that we had to flip our hair and be like seen, like force ourselves to be seen, or force ourselves to be known, or pay for our confidence, or pay for respect, the way I think Leo has to be, the way I think Leo in Mars thinks it has to be. What if, in fact, this all encompassing, tangible factor wealth is really something that is expansive in ideology, that is far reaching in curiosity and inquiry, that is uh, always look for new ways of reciprocity and regeneration, which I think to a certain extent, that is America's exploitation of minerals. But at this current time, um, but I think it's also like so much to share. It's like it makes me think of those like sexy murder mystery parties. Everybody is best dressed and trying something new and doing something cool and asking questions and being read. It just sounds like a good time. It feels like a good time. It looks like a good time. It can be a good time. It is a good thing. It's 10 of diamonds. Um, so we have something to look forward to in that, which is exciting because I feel like I didn't get that very much before. Um, Jack of clubs, 3 of hearts, Jack of clubs, 3 of hearts. This 3 of hearts is interesting. With this beautiful like burnt sienna, terracotta kind of color. Hearts is emotions, is sharing. Um, ooh, water is memory and information. It can compute. In fact, they have made computers with water and magnets, and it can recognize molecules like molecules. Uh, so it is itself an angel or demon, much like any religious text did not specify. Angels and demons were one and the same, or like jinn are one and the same until they're given a task, and that specifies. So they're all shapeshifters, and that is very much how this can oscillate. But this also makes me think of that tertiary intrusion or like foreign entity matter within this discussion as well. And in sharing this information as well, which all the more reason why we have to be very clear about this. The card I mentioned, very clear about what exists in our space, in our mental or physical space, so that there aren't these sort of uh, covert operations or secrecy or intrusions or it's giving very CIA. It's giving very plant. Um, I think it's also the difference between a state of humbleness or overcompensation kind of confidence, because one will consider its right or wrongness or just investigate it. The other wouldn't, can't fathom investigating that. Um, in which case, you're kind of always tertiary party, but for approval, for status, for whatever it is. Um, and that can sacrifice this, actually. It sounds like that would be counterintuitive, but that is not, that is never stable growth. Those are often the something destabilizing kind of relationships. Very unpredictable, and sometimes goes from 0 to 10 real quick too. So keep that in mind. Kind of like a Gatsby party. Eesh. Is this Jack of clubs, Mr. Gatsby? This Jack of clubs is juggling quite a bit. This Jack of clubs is juggling quite a bit. Careful not to burn yourself. Juggling too much for too long will singe your fingers. But juggling just enough of what you care about will fuel the fire, will fuel the show, will fill the room, will result in lots of applause of how these line up. It's very calm. It's very noble, humble, but proud. Um, and it's very deep blue. Then we have Saturn in Pisces now, but Saturn will be moving into Aries. So I think this is perhaps the character that would, what did I say about bypassing and the moon advancing past Jupiter, but not hanging out with it. What's the word I'm looking for? But not hanging out with it. Um, that's the energy that I think is like good sportsmanship and would advance so quickly without a nod to Jupiter. So pay attention to that energy and where that lies as well. Let's see. We'll pull a traditional tarot card. This Jack of Wands much has a set routine about what it is that he is struggling or that wants to succeed in, wants to start fires in, wants to use those flames to keep warm. It's giving like cool uncle, like responsible uncle, like the fun uncle that's also responsible. Ooh, which I'm also just realizing. Inverted. I feel like that can be almost too honoring. That would be, sacrificing all those things or feeling like those things are not part of the game. I feel like it's again like status stuff. Sacrificing yourself for status. Not what we want. And I wonder why we would want that. American zeitgeist of fears and insecurity. Don't let somebody else think for you. That's that Jack of Wands. Don't let somebody else think for you or tell you what the fuck to do. Unless it is something that already aligns with where it is that you are rocking and rolling. And that could surprise you sometimes. You could have the same goal with different modes of going about it. In which case, keep an open mind. Are we still plugged in? Yes, sweet. I didn't even fidget with it this time. I like that. Alrighty. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Deep breath in. And exhale. Ew. I think we moved a lot of Venus energy into Saturn, and into maybe a larger concept of spirit, which is more expansive than the superficial ideas of Venus, which is very much like only tangible, is very much superficial, skin deep, not interested in social justice. Like interested in things for the sake of things, doing for the sake of doing. When again, it's not about the journey, it's about the end. It's not about the means, it's about the end. Yada yada. Ooh, I like that. But in moving that, we check the heart, we ascend it to hope, I suppose. Um, and we allow ourselves to see beneath the surface, to see deeper than skin deep, or to see auras, or to read between the lines, or to uh, all of the tertiary in between things. Um, oh my gosh, I just kind of flatlined. Oh, officiality. Beyond honestly a very dishonorable way of dealing with Venus, because it's not all just like beauty and things and even again what I said. I think the way Leo thinks Leo has to be. Um, we can move beyond that. We can dig deeper than that. We can expand on those things, rather than confine. And we have the Six of Wands and the Ten of Cups, which is very much building toward something so in line with your dreams and in line with your values that it's worth protecting. Um, I think for some people that can also be just a massive history that they're protecting, a mass of who they thought they were that they're protecting, and resiliently refusing to um, refusing to budge. And those are the people that demonize demons, and those are the people that I think would say six is an imperfect number. Imperfect because I'm being nice. Those are people that are consumed with their own judgment and their own loathing and their own lack. Those are not the kind of Six of Wands energy we want. We want prevailing energy. I don't want to say victorious. Prevailing is like, oh, I came out the other side, like you know, having been trapped underground and finally seeing the surface again. On that kind of prevailing, we are no longer trapped. We are no longer blinded. We are no longer in the dark. We are no longer uh, ignorant to ourselves or to what it is. Uh, what it is I means, and what it is that impact of my self is. And that is an essence of this Ten of Diamonds and this Ten of Cups, of the emotional world and the memory, being able to be seen in the present, uh, and make sense and align and feel giving and gifting rather than taking, which is a big part of how this haunting home, how it is your haunting memories become a home, becomes a home. Oh me, oh my. Oh, let's see. Water, fire, air. Oof. Oof. Gosh, it's so much about what you think of yourself and what you feel of yourself and how memory influences that. I can't stress enough. Uh, Past life regressions, you do not need necessarily to pay an Akashic reader to do it. You do, however, need to be able to actively, consciously dream, or get into deep, deep, deep meditation state. And you do need to be able to employ a key or protection, in which case you can utilize a gateway key or you can utilize some form of tantric invocation. Um, on top of that, a very clear way of finding that, a very easy way of finding that, because most of y'all probably have some app indicating something or other about your birth charts. Your seventh house, your death house, is one indication into a most recent past life. And that and its opposition can say what triggers or things that make you uncomfortable or why. My uh, uh, seventh house and something in Marcus chart have an interesting little aside. Dig into your seventh house and then Google it and read about the sign and read about the house and take note of things that ring a bell, or of things that make sense, or of things that you find yourself interested in, or of things that connect to something, and let it uncover other possibilities of who you could have been. And sometimes that's enough. Get creative, draw a picture of it, write a little comic, make a little short story of that could have been. Have fun. If you want to get weird about it and you want to meditate, then absolutely, you can perhaps experience something in it, or back into it to see. But that does not only end at past lives. The seventh house is just one way to look at it. Again, fifth house situations and childhood stuff. That is of former self or past self, past life regression, in just trying to remember your earliest memory. That can be hard and very triggering for some people. Or remember, trying to remember whatever you could from childhood, and versions of the version of yourself then, and what they needed from the version that you are now. In very in a very real way, I have a theory that uh, this is very alike to time travel. But maybe that's a big claim. Sorry. Let's see. Let's see. Active dreaming stuff will help you figure out who you are and when you are in those places. Use it wisely. You can do too much and feel less real in this place. I guess it's not too much. It's just so real, and it's just so real. But so that you're very clear about who and what and where and how, and that those things don't necessarily follow you if they don't have to. Even when the hard ones follow me, I'll sit with them, but I'll recalibrate so that it's not sitting with me all day, and so that it's not something that takes her, and sort of it bleeds over into this timeline, and again feels more real. With that, there will be meditations coming on all of these topics, but I think I've given you quite a bit of information to digest and quite a bit of little rabbit holes to go down, and so I think the easiest thing uh, to remind us all to do is also just to stay grounded, to make space for new ideas, but also to stay grounded. And so, with that, I think it'd be very cool to close this out with a few breaths, and very simply so. We've already gotten very good at doing it in series of threes, so we can do 3 breaths followed by 3 more breaths, 6 breaths altogether. Um, 3 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, preferably longer on the exhale. Thinking and understanding our capacity to hold information, to make space for the things that we picked up here, and for the things that the moon will bring us, for the lessons that the moon will bring us. And then in following that, after the in through the nose, out through the mouth, we'll shift to both through the nose, in through the nose, out through the nose, so that while we've made space, again, we can bring all of that energy to actively integrate by bringing our energy back into our body, and sort of solidifying it rather than letting it run through our fingers. So, if you don't mind, if you want to go party on, but I always do recommend some grounding. So, however it is you've been watching this, take a deep breath in through your nose and slowly pour it out of your mouth. If you feel like it's hard to elongate that, then just purse your lips like you're whistling. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through your mouth. Take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through pursed lips, pouring out a little bit, making space in the body for new information and new growth, tension, or resistance. Is why the exhale a little longer. Let's bring the attention now to our nose so that inhales and exhales reside actively in the body. Deep breath in through your nose. And exhale through your nostrils. Feeling the sensations around the tips of your nose and your nostrils. Feeling how that breath can stretch. And exhale, pushing the air out through your nostrils. Perhaps training your brain to be more aware of it. So you're very physically aware of it and can sense it on your upper lip. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the nose, feeling the breath fill inside body, feeling its warmth and tangibility as it is. Sometimes that's the only wealth that's real wealth. Oh gosh, that felt good. Okay. Love ya. Thank you for hanging out. This one's been a little bit of a long one. Thank you for hanging out, I have to say. Appreciate you. Anybody who's been here before, welcome. To anybody who has not been here before, thank you for staying this long. Hope to see you again. And if you're new to breath work, I do have a book available on my website. If you are into decolonization, I do have a yoga course you can mess around with. That's like 3 hours for like 5 classes. And if you would like a reading for personal shenanigans, then by all means, please hit me up. But otherwise, and utmost, I love just being here to tune in and tap in, and I love how much it does help people. Please don't be shy about letting us know and just commenting your experience or something that resonated a lot for you, or just your tokens of appreciation. It's nice. I love seeing how it unfolds, honestly. I think a lot of people message me about it instead of, saying it out loud to the world on a public platform, which I super duper love and appreciate. But throw something in that comment section too. But other than that, yeah, be good to yourself. Be kind and compassionate, and buckle, because shit's gonna get weird, and we are in some wild times for change. Never forget that is revolution. Chile Ashley Claire. Questa. I appreciate you very much. Till next time.